From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of amazing ideas at stunning digital marketing. In today's podcast, I have Cami McNamara with me, and we're going to talk about how to balance busy WordPress agency. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, Stunning Digital Marketing is your digital concierge. We help you put the pieces together to make your marketing success. Specialties we have including WordPress design and development, WordPress security, which is one of our most popular offerings, ads, and more. So if you want to succeed in the digital world, go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and have a look at what we offer, and we'd be glad to help you. And let's jump on a call and make it happen. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And in today's show, I have my good friend Cami McNamara with me. Hey Cami, how are you?
Hi, how are you today?
Doing good.
Me too.
It's getting to be December almost at the time of this record, and it's starting to get cool in Canada, and it's kind of dreary out there. We're just above freezing today, so there you go.
Yeah, it's getting colder in Seattle, and for me, it's the day before Thanksgiving. So it's one of those crazy trying to wrap up everything
And you know what's
kind
going
of
to
days.
happen? Some clients can have an emergency at
Friday.
4:01 a.m. or Black Friday, or you know how that
Yes.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't be far from a computer, even though I'm taking a little time off.
Oh, me neither. One of the things I wanted to talk about is you run a pretty busy agency. You maintain, I forget, you're up over 400 websites or something.
No, I'm more closer to 200, but
Okay, so
all my clients are pretty active, and so yeah, I'm pretty busy, and an agency of one, so
yeah,
it's just me.
yeah, and I think I'm on the security side, and that side I'm up around 425 or 426. I have to do account again,
Wow,
but I'm up.
that's impressive.
And mention those numbers to throw it out there and make anybody feel bad. It takes time and it takes work. And you and I both know
Yeah,
that.
I've been in
But
business for 20 plus years, so
yeah. But what I thought we'd talk about is a little bit about how we manage our time kind of
mhm.
going around that, because time's a big deal. So where I was going to start was you handle your client requests. Do they get to email you? Do they get to text you? Do they go to a portal? Do they go to a ClickUp board? How do you handle that?
I handle all of it through email. And,
Okay.
having been in business as long as I have, I've tried everything. Like I did
Yep.
Zendex for a while
Yep.
and a few things like that. But I really use Google or
Mhm.
Gmail as my primary tool. So an email comes in and I create a task with it, and I
Yep.
use an add on called Tasks Board. And that kind of gives me a Trello-like board for all my
Mhm.
incoming tasks. And I am a time blocker, so everything goes on the calendar,
Good.
and that's how I keep track of it. They can text me for an emergency, but not for a regular request, because then it just ends up forgotten because it's not in my system.
Yep. And you run off your cell phone, or do you have a separate business line? How do you cope with
I
that?
run off my cell phone. Yeah,
Okay.
I run off my cell phone. I've been doing it for so long. That's just how I roll with it. So
Yeah.
I use
So
an app that will give a different message for my friends who are in my contacts than it does
Mhm.
for my outgoing. Yeah, if somebody leaves a voicemail. So
Yeah. One of the things I did is in the last year, I ran off my cell phone for 14 years. But the problem with that is the minute you put your cell phone number on your website, your cell phone gets spammed. And it
yes.
was driving me up the wall. So for a sake of 25 bucks a month, Canadian, I went to a VoIP line as well. And I don't
Oh,
even have
okay.
a phone for it. It goes to an app and it does that. It has an auto attendant. And after 5 o'clock, the calls go right to voicemail. It will take
Nice.
it will take texts as well. And I generally tell most of my clients, A, don't text me after hours unless it's a dire emergency. That's a website down. I forgot to
Yep.
do a pricing change, doesn't qualify. I will tell you that now. Not my issue at that point. Unless
Same.
you're unless you're paying for premium service or you want to pay for premium to get it done. That's your other option. And I'm like you. I've tried everything under the sun to get clients support requests. I've tried email. I've tried. Um, I don't like to take text for support requests. It's just not my
Yes.
thing.
It just kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
It does, unless it's an emergency. Um, I got a couple of special clients that there's always a few that are exempt. You know that, but they don't abuse
Yes.
it. I've tried help desk portal. I've tried that multiple times. My clients do not like it. They will not use it. So I now run a bit of a hybrid. I run a help desk portal out of a WordPress site that nobody has access to but me to keep track of stuff. And the clients just continue to email me. So I've gone that route. And I'm like you,
Hmm.
I time block. It's gotta go on the calendar.
It's
And
got
I
to go on the calendar. Yeah.
and I think that's important. And people will say to you, well, you don't have any time today to book calls. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I have work to do.
Yeah, I really have limited my meeting time. Over the years, I learned quickly that if I opened up my calendar, I would have
Mm,
nothing but meetings all day and have no time to work at all. So
yeah,
I think I have have somewhere between 6 and 7 hours available for meetings each week, and that's it.
yeah. Do you let your clients schedule right into your meetings or into your calendar,
I
or do
no,
they have to go to you?
I keep it in lockdown because if I put it on my website, then I get third party vendors reaching out to me and booking
Oh
my
yeah,
time. I
yeah.
use Calendly, and
Mhm.
so if a client needs a meeting, I just shoot them an email with my, whatever 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever I think they might need, and they book it that way.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mention that because on my website, I do have the option for a 15-minute meeting, and the vendors, that's not enough time for them. They don't
Yeah,
even bother.
I think I have one somewhere buried in there, but it's not easy to find.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
that's helpful too,
yeah.
because I kind of sometimes I will answer the phone for a call that I don't know on occasion.
Hmm.
And I like to vet them through a phone call before we even book an actual, meeting to know what they need. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm just not the right person right out of the gate. I
No,
don't
I know.
want to waste my time with that.
Um, and I do the same. Like, if a client wants a 60 or a 90-minute meeting, I'll send them a link. And I tend to use TidyCal, which is the app Sumo
Yeah,
product,
it works
just because.
great. I was eyeballing that. I know that that's an AppSumo
Yeah.
buy.
I've,
That's a pretty good deal.
I've been on it for 2 years and they keep improving it. And it's got Zoom integration, it's got Meet integration, it's got even Teams integration now. They're moving to some group scheduling. So it makes life, for me, it
Yeah,
works. Well, it's just kind of,
yeah,
but I think that's the key is to limit your meetings and productivity
it's
matters.
huge. Hmm.
Do you do anything else when you're managing your schedule a little bit?
Well, so in my time blocking, I have a pretty, I mean, it's from day to night, what
Yeah.
time slots I have for what type of work. So I will have one day that's working on one project. I
Hmm.
will have one day that focuses on maintenance requests. So when the client is reaching out to me, I can say, yeah, I'm going to do this on Tuesday because that's my day for it, right?
Yep.
And Thursdays, I'm in a BNI group, so I do business networking international. I have off and on for 14 years. So that's my meeting day. Thursday's always a meeting day, and I
Hmm.
just try to keep my tasks to a minimum because I know I'm going to be distracted all day with meetings.
Yeah.
So it kind of, when you do have an all day meeting schedule like that, takes a lot out of you. Like you end up kind of tired because you're on and you're meeting with people the whole time. So that's kind of easy stuff day. But
Yeah. My rule of thumb is I take no meetings on Mondays and I take no scheduled meetings on Fridays.
Fridays, yeah.
And the reason for that is Mondays, I find I'm dealing with emergencies from the weekend or rush requests or stuff. There's always stuff that
Or
comes in over
leftovers.
a leftover.
Leftovers, yeah.
The reason I don't take them on Fridays, and by the way, emergencies par for a course, is I find that about noon on Friday, most business owners are checked out.
Yeah.
And I've got a number of retail clients and they go into the weekend, but I find most owners, by the time I have Friday afternoon, they're checked out and done, and they don't even want to kind of, you say something that goes like over their head, and it's just not
Hmm.
worth it.
Yeah, I'm close to the same. I have one time slot on Monday for one meeting that
Yeah.
is 30 minutes, and it's just there for that kind of emergency thing, or if somebody reaches out on a Friday. And
Mhm.
I don't meet on Fridays either. That kind of gives me an out to tell them I can meet you Monday at 2:30.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Um, what do you do for keeping track of note, for example, for clients? Do you use like a Word doc? Do you use a note-taking
Yeah,
package? How
I
do you
sort of,
facilitate?
when I have meetings with clients, I use a tool called Supernormal, which is a note taker, an
Yeah.
IA note taker. And I use a combination of Notion and Google Docs
Okay.
to keep track of all of my notes for clients. So every client has a Google Drive folder where I keep a bunch of stuff. But I have been working on trying to figure out how to make Notion a great place for that. And I really have enjoyed working with Notion, but it's such a free form product that it's a
Yeah.
little hard to get it. I've even spent quite a bit of money having somebody build something for me, and it's lovely. Um, but it's so much work to keep track of it. I don't
Mhm.
know that it's ever going to be something I put to great use.
Yeah. I use Notion and I find I use it for tracking projects. This is where this is at. This is where this is at. And I'll give the client, if it's a project, access to the Notion board. So that sort of takes care of that. And truthfully, 90% of the time, they never even look at it. They can't be
Yeah.
bothered.
I've
So,
tried making client portals once, and I had three clients out of 50 check
yeah.
it out. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to convert the rest of them.
Um, if it's a request and it needs a ticket, as I mentioned, I have an internal ticketing system. I just kind of deal with that. In terms of notes, where I keep a lot of my notes is an app called Joplin. Joplin is it's a free open source note taking Microsoft OneNote killer, as far as I'm concerned. So the cool
Okay.
thing with Joplin is you can take your database and throw it wherever you want. So you can throw it on Google Drive or on a OneDrive or on a Dropbox account. It doesn't care. And as long as you point to it and authenticate it, you're good to go. And
Oh,
that's um
that's great. Yeah,
and
I'm
it's a
all about keeping notes. Like if
yeah,
I don't have notes, whenever I finally get to working on what they need, man, that note is my roadmap.
yeah. The other thing I do is I record all my meetings. So 90% of my meetings are Zoom. Some are on the phone, and even the phone ones get recorded. And
Oh,
then
okay. What do you
and
use for your phone recording?
whatever's built into Android right now, usually.
Okay.
But Zoom recording's easy. And
Hmm.
I actually will send the client I'll throw it up on my YouTube channel and just hide it, and then send them a link
Hmm.
and say, by the way, here's a recording of the meeting. And then when the client, and I've had cases in past where clients have said, I didn't say that. Oh, yes, you did. Here's a snippet out of the meeting that said,
Check the transcript.
wrote the transcript. Yeah, yeah. So, so that helps. You deal with as a agency of one. How do you deal with multiple projects and multiple overlapping deadlines when crunch time hits?
Well, I stay in close communication with my clients in terms of if I'm falling behind, I'll fess up and let them know. But most of the time, the client hasn't gotten me all the information on time. And
Hmm.
in my contract, if I expect something and they're 3 weeks late, it pushes our due date out 3 weeks.
Yep.
So I do have that little bit of wiggle room there. I have routinely been working on anywhere from 12 to 22 projects at once at any given time. And that's without maintenance, that's website builds. And it's just, I'm so used to working that way that
Yep.
uh, I just am spreading my time out amongst different tasks. And it usually takes me about 8 to 12 weeks to build a website for somebody. So
Yeah.
I have it spread out enough to where I can have different people at different places. And I use this tool called Manifestly. So it's manifest.ly is the URL. And it's kind of a project task tool that I use outside of any of my note taking and stuff just to give me a clear picture on where I'm at with my projects. Probably like what you're doing with Notion.
Yeah. You got to do something because if not, what
You've got to
happens
have the
is,
overall. Yeah.
yeah. And you got to work on stuff as you go. I think where a lot of people who do project make the mistake is, oh, it's due on Friday, so I'll start it Thursday at noon. And then they wonder why
Right.
Friday morning. It's like the kid who's got that big assignment and the teacher gave him 3 weeks to do. And there's a
Yeah.
reason why the teacher gave you 3 weeks to do the assignment, right, Cami?
Yeah, well, and I stopped trying to meet milestones like in one setting,
Yep.
and I will work in a time increment. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to work an hour on that project today, and then I'll share what I got done. And maybe I didn't meet the milestone, but I chipped away at it. And
Yeah.
that's more important to me than finishing something completely in one setting because then everybody else has been ignored.
Yep. So I have to tell you, I know you have a really good newsletter, and anybody who's in
Oh,
the
thank you.
agency space should better check it out like now.
Thank
But
you.
you're welcome. Do your client are most of your clients getting that newsletter? So they know
My
what's going on?
clients get a client newsletter.
Good.
So I update my clients monthly with a
So,
newsletter from
so do I.
me. And then the Habits WP newsletter that I send out is for other agency and owners, freelancers,
Mhm.
just anybody who's trying to form better habits as a business owner. And the reason I started doing the newsletter is because I've taken some wonderful courses from people that have really made a difference in my
Yep,
business. It's super hard to find time to take a full-blown course,
it
right?
is.
Like, it's like supposed to only take you like maybe 2 months to do it, and it takes me a year because I'm fitting in the time to implement it. And
Mhm.
that's why I thought about, what could I do to help people and giving them one habit a week to focus on to make their
Yep.
business better is something that you have a better chance of completing and
Yep.
learning from.
One of the things I do from a newsletter perspective, I'll share this. I have a client newsletter, and I think any agency who doesn't, they better start one because
Yes.
I think where people fall, especially on maintenance plans, care plans, security care plans, they fall short is they don't communicate. So then you go to renew and the client says, I haven't heard from you in 6 months. So
Right.
goodbye. I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
mistake. Out of sight, out of mind's not a good idea. I'm in the process of reaching out to all my clients individually and saying, okay, the new year's coming up. How can I help you? So I'll do
Yes.
that too.
I think it's huge. And when my parents passed away a couple of years ago, and they were both kind of fell into the last part of their lives at the same time. They died within 11 months of each
I'm
other.
sorry.
But my newsletter was an update about my parents for probably 3 or 4 years, where I was going down to help and
Yep.
visit them, and I would send a picture. And it humanized me, and my clients were really invested, and in knowing about my folks. And I think it was healing for me to share what I was going through.
Mhm.
But I think it made my clients and I closer to
Yeah.
share, this is my reality. I'm working as hard as I can but this weekend I'm going to see my folks and I'm not available. And everybody was so understanding.
And as people know, I've gone through my share bit of health challenges. And
Yes.
as you know, I very often on my personal blog will share where I'm at with the diabetes challenges, where I'm at with the wound challenges, and I'll actually tweet and social those out because I think it's just me. And it's not to
Yeah.
say, and I'm not looking for sympathy. It's people ask me all
No,
the
but
time, how are you doing? What's going on? Like, you've had challenges. How are you feeling? And I share those quite, and I'm pretty transparent. Like, I
I
came
think
off,
people are sometimes afraid to share
yeah.
the human side of themselves, and we're all just machines pushing out the work. But your clients have lives too, and I think it can be something that actually brings you closer as individuals to just be honest and open.
Mhm. And the other thing I do besides the client newsletter is I have two Substacks now.
Oh, cool.
I used to do them as newsletters, and then about 3 months ago, I decided I want to put these into another orbit. And Substack has
Yes.
its own community. So both my podcast newsletter and my what I call my techie information newsletter. So it's business tips. This is how you can help. This is what's going on out there. This is what's to be careful of. I moved those both to Substacks about 2 months ago, and that's gone really well, actually.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah.
So, I've taken that approach just because I'm trying to piggyback on the Substack community. So, what I would encourage anybody to do is create a Substack, create a newsletter, and stay in touch with people because that's
Hmm.
the engagement value. It's not just all
Yes.
the white noise, right?
Right. Well, and so many small business owners that I work with, it's intimidating to them to even think about having to formulate a newsletter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, the most important thing you can grab from your website from is somebody's email address, because that is going to end up as being a touch point for you versus,
Hmm.
an Instagram uh, post that you might do that only a portion of people might see.
Yep.
So anyway.
I agree with you. And we all know the problem with Meta's platform as a whole, right? In terms of
Yeah.
visibility and algorithm, I have to tell you, Meta is not my favorite platform. So I will
Are you on
disclaim that.
TikTok? Are
No, I
you
am
doing
not.
TikTok? Okay, that might
No,
be a good place for you if you're on Substack.
yeah. So my latest favorite platform is Blue Sky, but that's beside the point.
Oh, me too. Me too.
So
I'm all in on Blue Sky. I love it. Yeah.
it's great. It's great for developers. I'm not so sure it's great for business owners at this point in time. Like, to be
Yeah,
fair, I
I'm looking at it primarily as a place to connect with
yeah,
fellow
yeah,
designers. And yeah, I love it right now. It's like the early days of Twitter.
yeah, yeah. So that kind of sort of outlines that. How do you handle maintenance tasks? You say you have a day a week you do maintenance tasks. Do you do like web updates for clients on a weekly basis, and kind of how do
Yeah,
you handle
so
that?
so I in my care I've been doing care plans since 2015, and I
Yeah.
rolled it out slow so I knew how much I could handle. I used Managed WP. It's still my favorite tool for
Okay.
that. I use the cloning tool a lot, and but I like the reports that go out. I'm just very used to that. So Mondays I and Fridays I get into Manage WP and do a whole bunch of updates. But in between, when I'm getting just a maintenance request from an existing client, I'll either do that on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I alternate. And I'll just go through my list. Most of the things my clients have me do are small, right?
Yeah.
And it could be updating a menu item, or I have a health club that needs a lot of class updates and stuff like that. And, if somebody needs more than just an hour every week, then I put them on a retainer for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do do you do your own backups, or do you let the host do the backups? And do you host the websites for your clients,
I do.
or do
I
you
do.
let them?
I have a reseller account through a small company called MDD Hosting. It's
Okay.
basic cPanel, and there's a backup running there. Jet Backups is on that, but I use Managed WP to do the backups.
Hmm.
And so that has always worked really well for me. If I have
Good.
any problems doing a restore there, you can always download the full backup and do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and
I still
manage WP is a GoDaddy company, correct? If I recall right.
It is now. When
Yep.
I started using it, it wasn't. It was independent, but it is a GoDaddy company, but it's still running as it did, back when it was privately owned.
Yeah, I've been a main WP user for a long time, so that's
Yeah,
kind of
and I have that I have a small Facebook group of web designers, and we often talk about this.
yep.
Main WP is like, equal to the amount of users that are in managed WP, and we've all tried like WP
Hmm.
Umbrella. I don't care what somebody's tool is. If you're a web designer like we are, that is a great way to have recurring income, and I only
Yep.
wish I did it earlier.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's funny you talk about that, and I would rather actually do security maintenance care plans than I would do dev work from scratch. And people laugh and
Okay.
say, why? And I said, because with care plans, there's no scope creep. You know exactly what you're going to do. You know exactly what you're going to charge. You know exactly what the routine is. There's none of this, oh, I need these 50 million changes. And by the way, I'm not going to pay for it. I mean, beyond bad clients, that's another story.
Right.
But there's none of that, right? It's just kind of you just do it, you get it done, you move on.
Well, yeah, I would say I like doing the care plan stuff. It can get a little tricky if, let's say, a whole bunch of clients are on the same host and they all have
Hmm.
a problem.
Yep.
But I'm a creative, so building websites is my passion. That's what I
Yeah,
really love to
I
do.
know.
And I also am a people person, so I really like that I can offer him a care plan and take care of those items
Yep.
for him. That's
Yep.
why, yeah, I know everybody's very scared about AI and how it's going to affect, people can build a website in 90 seconds, but they want a person to deal with problems. They don't want to do it themselves. So until it can totally take care of all of those things, I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah. And the other thing with all this going on, you're busy, I'm busy. Do you have a self-care routine built in that kind of look after
Yeah, I
yourself?
do. I do. Today I've already been on two walks. I walk with a
Good.
girlfriend every Tuesday or Wednesday in my neighborhood, and then I walk my dogs every day. And
Good.
I live near a beach in Seattle, so it's beautiful, and I really like try to take time to appreciate the water, the mountains, even the rain.
Yeah.
Um, so that's part of it. I like to travel when I can, and I like to spend time with friends. So I just try to
Mhm.
carve out time with people I enjoy.
Yeah. I find I walk every day pretty well for an hour a day. I haven't been out yet today. It's been one of those, but I will be after we're done, probably going for a walk before or after dinner. It also
Yeah,
keeps the weight down. It's good for you.
it does,
Um,
and it's not screen time.
yeah.
I wish I had I don't have any like hobbies other than work. But getting outside and enjoying just reading a book on the beach or just taking time away from screens is so
Mm.
important.
And since we're talking about time management, how do you deal with vacations or trips away? Are you like a lot of entrepreneurs where you lug your laptop and every
I do
request
take
that comes in, you just deal with,
I
or
Well, I take my laptop but I start telling my clients via newsletter or email, or, I have a monthly newsletter, but I might have a special bulletin, right?
Mhm.
And when I go to New Orleans, I start telling my clients at least 2 months in advance, hey, going to New Orleans, you all know what that means.
Yep.
Because they've been my client. And if you're a new client, what that means is that I'm not working
Yeah.
unless your website is dead to
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
And I'm not it, and it not only that, if you have a problem, I may be 4 miles, I may have walked because we don't rent a car, we're off walking. I may not be able to get back to my laptop, for a couple hours or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's what I do. And I only take those types of vacations once a year, and I usually am only gone for about 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
So
We do a lot of weekend trips. So we'll whip down to Niagara, we'll whip down to an area called Sandbanks, we'll whip around town. And on those trips, I tell people, I mean, I'll go out for the day and I'll take my laptop with me and I'll throw it in the trunk of a car. Like, guess what? I tell people outright, if I'm out all day, it better be a dire emergency. There's none of this. I
mhm.
forgot to do this. I need this. No. Your website better be burning at that
Yeah,
point.
I'll make sure that my emails are my email box, maybe not zero, but it's close before I go
Yeah.
on vacation.
Yep. Yep.
And I put the laptop in the hotel safe, and I only get it out if somebody has an emergency, because I
Hmm.
really am trying to make myself also not constantly check email and
Yeah. Yeah.
things like that. Like, I will check email off my phone at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Um, but we really need to have true breaks every
So
now
true.
and then.
The other thing we didn't talk about, which is really interesting, and I find most business owners have a problem with. You're out hustling business. You're not doing work for clients. You're busy. I'm busy. But what do you do about the long-term promotion of your business on a regular basis? And do you build that into your time management?
I Yes, I certainly do. So I'm a member of BNI. So every
Yep.
week I'm at a meeting talking about myself, and that's
Good.
solely about getting new business. That gets me a lot of local business. But I have a couple of different spots on my calendar for. One is an early morning session on working on my own systems. And my
Hmm.
new tool is to use Chat GPT, and I'll
Um,
feed a problem that I'm having with my system in
yeah.
there and get feedback on ways to change it.
Okay.
So that has been a very useful tool. And then Anne Marie Gill is a fellow web designer here in the Seattle area, and she and I have been very close for many years. We went on a women's retreat that Kim Doyle, I don't know if you
Oh, I
remember
know
Kim.
Kim and I are good
Yeah,
friends. I know Kim well.
good.
Yeah.
So I went to Costa Rica and stayed
Yeah.
with Kim, and we did a women's retreat down there. Anne Marie and I did. It was wonderful. I had the best time. And Anne Marie and I came back from that about a year ago, and we co-work every Friday, and we work on our own businesses during that time.
Yeah.
So my Habits WP newsletter is born from that time together, and she's launching something on her own. And
Good.
so we kind of do it in a supportive way. But I have always built in time in my calendar to work on my own business. You have to do it.
Mm.
If you're, and it could be time to work on your newsletters, or, in my case, it could be signing up to go to a networking event, those types of things.
Yeah. But I agree with you. And you have to go to those events. I do them, but I have a standard 10 to 11 Eastern every day. And I block, unless I have a doctor's appointment or a networking event or an emergency, that is in my calendar to basically say I'm working on my stuff during this time. And the other thing I do, as you know, it's this podcast. I mean, that's one of the reasons I
Yes.
do it. I do it, right? It's about business promotion and
And
letting people,
podcasts are a lot of work.
yeah,
I
and
know. I
it's too much work some days, right? I was saying to somebody, I was talking to Joe Casabona this week. You may or may
Mhm.
not know. He was in
I
the
know
WordPress
him. Well,
space.
I don't know him personally, but I follow his blogs and I've
Mhm.
taken a couple of his like online courses about podcasting.
Yeah, and Joe and I was saying to Joe in a recording we did for a future episode that my average podcast is 5 to 6 hours for me. So that's including the
Yeah.
promotional work, and it's worth it, but it's work. And you got to do the business promotion. I think where a lot of business owners suffer is they're feast or famine. So I'm not busy, so let's promote. And that's the wrong time. It's easier to get clients when you're busy, when you're not
Hmm.
busy.
Well, and I also feel that coming from a place that you believe in yourself and you believe
Yeah.
it, and you just tell yourself, I'm going to get new business, that mindset does a lot on its own, right? And also building that care plan business where you have recurring revenue takes a little bit of the pressure off on how many new projects you need to bring in each
Yeah,
month.
so it's so true. It's so true. And that's why I think having a care plan is so important is reoccurring
Hmm.
revenue matters. It makes life easy.
It
Hey, Cami,
does.
I really enjoyed this chat today. Thanks for sharing some of your
I have
processes. And
so enjoyed this, and I can't wait to meet you in person
oh,
someday.
it's going to happen one day. If I ever, and I'm trying to avoid the drama, but if I ever get unblocked on WordPress.org so I can actually log in and go to a WordCamp, because,
Yeah, well, I'm going to PressConf
all
in Arizona in
right,
April. I got
awesome.
my ticket for that, and that'll I'm trying to support the alternatives.
Yep.
But yeah, let's hope that WordPress stuff gets worked out.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to WordPress Canada this year in Ottawa, and I had bought tickets, I had booked trips, I had booked hotel, I had done it all, and then my health took a
Your
dive in the
health had
middle.
other plans.
And
Well,
my
I'm
health had
glad you're
other plans.
healthy.
Yeah, thank you. If somebody wants to get a hold of you to talk about WordPress design, how's the best way?
Well, there's many ways to get a hold of me. I would love for them to sign up for my newsletter at
Yeah.
habitswp.com. I can be found at webcami.com. That's my main business website. And then I have a Facebook group called Webcami Cafe. You can search that on Facebook. It's a website too. But I only have like 175 web designers in there, but they're all wonderful people and we network, and it's always going to kind of be a smaller group.
Yeah.
So it's not the admin bar, which I love and use all the time, but it's kind of more of a networking place than just a typical Facebook group. So
Yeah. Thanks, Cami. Have yourself a wonderful day and take care of
yeah,
yourself.
thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to the STM Show. The STM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital concierge. For all your digital marketing needs, especially WordPress security, jump on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and let's help you put the pieces together and make your business succeed in the marketing realm. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Cami for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I love you. I miss you very much. And thanks for all the inspiration over the years and your caring, your understanding, and helping me grow as an individual. Thank you, Dad.